Broadcasting from Now Media Network's headquarters in Houston, this is Purple Politics, hosted by political expert and commentator Alina Gonzalez-Dockery. Join us to discuss the most important issues affecting our nation with fresh, balanced, and objective discussion on the first bilingual media network in the United States. Purple Politics starts right now.
Welcome back to another episode of Purple Politics. I am your hostess, Alina Gonzalez-Dockery, and from Trump's first criminal trial, and yes, he's playing the victim card, of course, to Biden actually taking advantage and getting on the road, because as Trump is stuck in the courthouse, Biden gets all eyes on him. Or does he? So let's kick it off with the jury selection in Trump's criminal trial. So we have now seen 3 days of Donald J. Trump's criminal trial in Manhattan with significant developments as 2 of the 7 jurors previously selected were dismissed. These jurors' departures underscore the ongoing challenge of assembling an impartial jury to decide the fate of the former president, who stands accused of falsifying business records to conceal a sex scandal involving a payment to Stormy Daniels, a former porn star. The one dismissed juror raised concerns about her identity potentially becoming public, prompting the judge overseeing the case, Juan M. Merchan, to take action. Judge Merchan instructed reporters not to disclose prospective jurors' work, emphasizing his legal authority to block such information from being reported to safeguard jurors' anonymity. Of course, New York Times and other major media networks are going to be challenging this ruling, but they have been giving out specific details, not of names, but what we have seen of. One is works for Disney, and several lawyers, it's a little bit available to pierce the veil of anonymity for these jurors. This development added another layer of the complexity, because then a second juror has been dismissed after the state attorney's office has questioned his veracity in the general questionnaires of whether he could remain unbiased. We have already seen hundreds of potential jurors being dismissed outright because of what has been coined as the hush money case. And we are seeing history being made, because for the first time, a former president is being charged criminally and is now facing a criminal trial. Now, this is interesting because you have to remember, back in Bill Clinton's impeachment trials and the investigation up to that, he actually perjured himself on sworn testimony during a deposition, which resulted in his bar license, his legal license, being revoked. Now, never were there any criminal charges for perjury. If you and I, laymen, were to perjure ourselves, we would be facing criminal charges. That is a fact. Perjury under oath, giving false statements, giving false testimony, is a punishable indictment. But yet what we see is, what is good for one goose is not good for this gander, the orange man, Trumpster. So what's leading to being a very promising, challenging time in trying to seat a juror, we are now seeing that even though we had 7 jurors and they're looking for the magic number 12 plus 6 additional, which are additional jurors as holdovers, so that in case one falls out, they can switch it. So we are finding that this is continuing to be an elusive challenge based on the complexity of the case. And also, let's face it, this case is bigger than the O.J. Simpson trial of 30 years ago, and has some similarities because of the hype involved. We're going to be seeing a lot more. You're going to have a lot of potential jurors being dismissed, but you're also going to be seeing a lot of challenges coming out of it. Now, right now, the hope is, Judge Merchan's hope, I should say, hope is that this case will be ready for opening statements come Monday. We will see. Most experts believe that it would take at least 2 weeks to seat a panel of jurors. But at this point, that is up to how things will continue, and we will continue to watch this. Now, the real question is Trump's trial really about hush money, paying off the porn star so she wouldn't start saying anything, which, again, nothing new. Let's remember, when Clinton was first running for president, how many illicit affairs he had to be hushed up by that campaign to come in, or other well-known businessmen or actors and such that have done this. It's not to say that he shouldn't have cheated on his wife, purportedly, allegedly, which, by the way, Melania, rightfully so, is ticked off. But this ongoing hush money trial involving Donald seems to evoke more concern about how his wife Melania will react to emerging details rather than the legal implications themselves, as suggested by former White House officials. According to Alyssa Ferry Griffin, Trump's former White House communications director, the trial isn't a primary worry for Trump, but rather the potential personal repercussions stemming from the proceedings, especially regarding his relationship with Melania. Because remember, this alleged affair occurred right after Melania gave birth to Trump's youngest son, Barron. The trial revolves around allegations that Trump paid off Stormy Daniels to keep quiet about an alleged affair before the 2016 election, which Trump vehemently denies. Griffin's sentiments are echoed by Stephanie Grisham, another former White House communication director, who highlighted Trump's apprehensions about Melania's reactions to the trial. And let's face it, Melania has been very standoffish when it comes to this trial. She does not appear in New York by her husband's side for any of these trials, but most specifically this one. Griffin expressed frustration with the Republican Party's continued support for Trump, particularly in the context of a potential 2024 presidential bid. She criticized the focus on legal battles rather than addressing substantive issues of public concern, characterizing it as a disservice to the American voters. I agree. We should be discussing the issues that are most important to our fellow citizens. What security border, securing the border, economy, things of that nature. But instead, like so much of the primary, even when we used to have candidates like DeSantis and Nikki Haley and former New Jersey governor and such, everything was always about Trump and his legal woes. Trump and his legal woes. Yes, I have Trump fatigue. I will say it. Because the substantive issues are what are needing to be focused on. The substantive issues affecting the average American person. The families that are concerned on how they're going to pay for groceries, how they're going to pay for rent. What is happening when we're having over 7 million people just swarming our borders? And what is happening internationally? None of this can be discussed because all we hear is Trump's legal woes. And it is embarrassing. It is extremely embarrassing that of all cases that comes over this hush money case, which, let me remind you, New York State Attorney General Bragg is the one bringing this after claiming that this was an election interference and it's not business financial reporting. He keeps changing. He keeps moving the target of what exactly is this prosecution about, when the reality is, even after years of investigation by the Department of Justice, the same Department of Justice that does have 2 other indictments against Trump, said there is nothing here. We're not going to go after it. But Bragg decided to bring it on there, and bringing a misdemeanor that the statute of limitations have run, which basically means that he couldn't go after Trump for the misdemeanor charges, which is what originally this would fall under. He elevated and trumped up these charges to felony, and nobody knows what the heck he's basing it on. Now, for Melania, she has reportedly criticized the trial privately, viewing it as a disgrace and an act of election interference. Despite keeping a low profile since leaving the White House, Melania's stance aligns with her husband's perception of the trial's unfairness. And let's face it, when you have attorney generals campaigning that they're going to do everything they can to get Trump, much like in Georgia, yes, there does seem to be an inference of unfairness. There is a biasness that is grossly exaggerated when it comes to Trump. The trial also delves into this hush money payment, but also highlights rifts within the Trump's relationship, with reports suggesting Melania's severe reaction to the initial revelation of the payment. Stephanie Grisham recalls Melania's refusal to accompany Trump to events, illustrating this strain. And let's face it, Melania is a key component to Trump's campaigning. She is very much embraced, actually loved by many of Trump's supporters, but also she is respected by many would-be voters for Trump. We're talking the non-MAGA Trump coalescing followers. These legal proceedings have a broader implication beyond Trump's personal concerns, as evidenced by Judge Juan Merchan's indication that Melania could potentially serve as a witness in the case. Trump faces multiple felony charges across various criminal cases. Experts both on the conservative pundit as well as Democratic experts have all claimed the same thing. This is trumped up charges. This does have an illusion of biasness, and it is rather embarrassing. I am Alina Gonzalez-Dockery. Stay tuned after this quick commercial break, where we're going to be discussing what is happening with Speaker Johnson, House Speaker Johnson, and the congressional move for aid to Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Have you ever had to hire multiple contractors? It is a daunting task that takes a lot of management time and impacts the core business or the company, the time you spend with your loved ones. At Texas Home Property Solutions, you can count on a responsible company that can tackle all your general contractor needs. Electricity, painting, remodeling, plumbing, air conditioning, and roofing. Hire us and forget it. With over 20 years of experience, Texas Home Property Solution will deliver your project on time and within budget, with the high level of quality and integrity, no matter the size or complexity. If you are a company, a government institution, or an individual who needs a general contractor, you need Texas Home Property Solution. Take a decisive step and call us today for a free consultation.
Do you have a car sitting around you want to get rid of? Well, here's a great idea. Donate your car now to help local veterans in your area. Yes, just make one fast call to the Veteran Car Donation Program. Within a few days, we'll come and remove your car for free. You can donate any car in any condition. We'll use our vast network to sell it. The proceeds raised go to help local veterans and their families. And you get a tax deduction. And all you need to do is make this free call. Clean your yard up, get rid of an old car, and help the vets. We make it easy. Make this free call now. Book your fast and easy pickup. Call the Veteran Car Donation Program now.
The House of Representatives are making moves, or at least the Speaker House Johnson is trying to make moves. TikTok ban measure attached to the House Foreign Aid Bill is boosting odds of passage. The House Republicans, which to say dysfunctional is an understatement, have linked a proposal to ban or compel the sale of TikTok in the United States to a comprehensive foreign aid bill, which includes provisions for aid to Ukraine and Israel. The initial House bill passed last month aimed to force the Chinese parent company ByteDance to sell TikTok's U.S. operations within 6 months or face a ban. The revised proposal extends this period to approximately 9 months with a potential 3-month extension and is set to be voted on in the House this weekend. TikTok has strongly opposed any legislation that would mandate a sell, viewing it as the equivalent to a ban due to the challenges involved in reaching a deal. Additionally, the Chinese government has indicated its resistance to a forced sale. TikTok argues that such legislation would infringe upon the free speech rights of its 170 million U.S. users and will negatively impact all the small businesses and entrepreneurs that are selling products and utilizing TikTok to promote their services and goods. The scrutiny facing TikTok stems from concerns over Chinese control and potential national security risks, as well as the app's content moderation practices. While TikTok asserts it has never been asked to provide a U.S. user data to the Chinese government and denies the political bias in content curation, lawmakers remain wary. Senator Maria Cantwell, who chairs the Commerce Committee overseeing the TikTok bill in the Senate, supports the extended sale period proposed by the House, stating it is necessary for potential buyers to secure a deal. Some U.S. figures, including former Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin, have expressed interest in forming an investor group to acquire TikTok. Public opinion on TikTok's fate remains divided, with a CNBC survey indicating varying viewpoints. 20% believe it should be banned outright, such as other countries like India have already done. 27% support a ban unless it finds a non-Chinese owner, and 31% oppose the ban altogether. While this is being wrapped up in a pretty little package to be booted up to Senate in hopes that the Senate will then vote and approve this bill, Mike Johnson, our Speaker of House, defies his GOP critics that are getting louder and louder, setting up a Ukraine-Israel aid showdown. House Speaker Mike Johnson is pushing forward with a crucial vote on funding for Ukraine, who is desperate for assistance. Israel and other foreign allies, defying criticism from conservative members of the fringe aspect of his party. This move sets the stage for a weekend showdown that could determine not only the fate of the aid packages, but also Johnson's political career following months of internal strife within the Republican conference. It's another, I'm sorry, I'm eye rolling. I don't know if you saw that eye roll, but I just eye rolled myself back to last Sunday because the dysfunction, the absolute appalling behavior by this very small little group of excessive, extreme air quote, Republicans that are a part of the Freedom Caucus, what they're doing is it's just making a laughing stock of our House of Representatives. I mean, to the point that the Democrats are like, okay, we may have your back, Mike, don't worry. And I'll get more into that, but it's just a small faction. It was no better than when you had the squad on the Democratic side, the progressive extreme, trying to thwart their viewpoints on legislation. But the major difference between Democrats and Republicans is the Republicans can't get their stuff together. They can't pull together and support of legislation to help our allies. But no, they will do what they can. And honestly, Mike McCarthy, former Speaker of the House, now former congressional member as well, is kind of laughing, going, you see, told you so that this would happen. Democrats are expected to support the aid effort, with President Biden endorsing it strongly. However, many GOP lawmakers, unhappy with the absence of border provisions and skeptical of additional aid to Ukraine, are poised to oppose the measure, presenting a familiar challenge for the Republican leadership. Johnson is determined to prioritize national security interests over political calculations, emphasizing the importance of doing what is right. Hey, check that out. Hello, Republicans. Hello, congressional members. This is what leadership looks like. Leadership over partisan BS. That is leadership. That is governance. That is what we, the people, deserve. So rather than succumbing to the threats, the fear-mongering of potential repercussions for his leadership position, he is acknowledging, this is Mike Johnson, is acknowledging the likelihood of needing Democratic votes to pass the procedural steps associated with the legislation, but asserts he is not seeking Democratic protection to maintain his position. Although, let's face it, the Democrats probably, after, McCarthy's ouster, realized, Mike is a very sensible guy. He is a very sensible leader. He understands the intricacies of the law, the Constitution, and such, but also why give into chaos, which is what was caused the last time that small little, troublesome crew, Matt Gaetz, you were one of them, started all of this chaos and literally halted Congress from being able to do anything. Yes, people, this is what we're voting for. These are the people who are supposed to be leading and governing. But these aid packages are especially necessary because we're talking about Israel, who just deflected a 300 drone and ballistic missile attack directly from Iran. The Ukraine, who is now facing even more stepped up forces from Russia, defending their own ability to be independent country, who is now looking at lowering their own draft ages to force more men into the war because they're running out. Their time is running out. These aid packages proposed by Speaker Johnson comprises 4 bills, including provisions for Israel, Ukraine, Taiwan, as well as Republican priorities, as we discussed earlier, TikTok. The package mirrors the contours of a measure previously passed by the Democratic-controlled Senate with some modifications, such as converting a portion of aid to Ukraine into a forgivable loan, which Zelensky stated, if you don't want to give us the money, loan us the money. Give us the terms. We will sign that. And this is a demand that was made by former President Trump. Johnson's decision to proceed with the aid package comes at a challenging time for his political standing, with some Republican members seeking his removal from the speaker position. Oh my God, MTG, please, why did you start this? It's just chaos. Chaos upon chaos. That is all that it is. And when you only have a Republican majority of 1, because we have Republican congressional members that are resigning, retiring, leaving before their terms are up, And why is that? Because of frustrations with them not being able to do what the people who elected them to do. And that is govern. Yes, we don't want out of control spending. Yes, we have a deficit spending. But you know what? There has to be some things handled. And one of the things that needs to be handled is securing Israel, is securing the Ukraine. No, I'm not a warmonger. No, I was not in favor of the Iraq war, because honestly, if we never went into Iraq and took out Saddam Hussein, Iran would have been more in check. He was a necessary evil. He was. And yes, I say he was evil. But he was a necessary evil because he did keep Iran in check. And right now, Iran is running roughshod. Iran is supporting Hamas. Hamas, who does not care one instant of the poor citizens and residents of Gaza. Hezbollah and Hamas have been continuing their military strikes on Israel. And the only reason why mainstream media and others aren't decrying the abuses that Iran is doing is because why? Oh, yes, the Iron Dome. Because Israel's defenses are of the such that the missile strikes did not pose any real meaningful threat or injury to those citizens of Israel. So the House Speaker's efforts to navigate these challenges involve engaging with Republicans across the ideological spectrum. While some conservatives remain dissatisfied with the absence of border-related measures, Johnson has signaled a commitment to addressing those concerns separately. He's calling for the vote on Saturday. Let's see what happens then. And the real question is, will America let Ukraine, one of its allies, collapse? Because that is what is happening. That is the threat. So while Speaker Mike Johnson is pressing forward with a bill aimed at providing support to Ukraine, despite facing his opposition within his own party, and while some of the members are threatening to challenge his leadership, Johnson asserts the urgency of passing the legislation in light of these critical implications, because it is a U.S. national security concern. And by dividing the aid bill into 4 parts, he is addressing each country separately. And the Republicans stated that they are in favor of, or in support of Israel. Because remember, Trump was the biggest proponent. So we're going to continue to follow this story. The vote is coming up on Saturday, which also then gives 72 hours, which is pursuant to the rules, so nobody can balk at that. I wish Mike Johnson the best of luck. I hope that the Republicans can pull their heads out of you-know-what and get it together, because at this point, any little faction that breaks is going to be the ruin for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. I am Alina Gonzalez. Tune in right after this quick commercial break.
Are you nearly maxed out on your credit cards? It doesn't matter if you're using your credit cards for fun or to survive. At the end of the month, your statements come in, and you can either pay them or you can't. If you can't, late fees and interest rates get tacked on. And now you're struggling just to make the minimum payment due. Do you feel trapped? Am I talking to you? Good, because I personally researched some companies that can help you. They may be able to reduce your credit card balances by 50% and stop the late fees. If you qualify, please call our special debt hotline number right now for a complimentary free 5-minute consultation. Deal with your credit card problem now before it gets much worse and put more money back in your pocket. Trust me, I've been there too. Call right now.
Call 855-993-2096 right now. That's 855-993-2096.
What if this happened to you when you're alone? Or what if it happened here? With MedGuard Alert, you're never alone. You can connect with medical professionals anywhere, anytime. And now MedGuard is introducing our exclusive new CareWatch. If you need help quickly, use it from anywhere to contact medical professionals. No cell phone required. The CareWatch is not only a life-saving medical alert device, it's a revolutionary health monitoring system that checks your blood pressure, heart rate, oxygen saturation, and much more. And here's the best part. If you have Medicaid, you may qualify to get your CareWatch for free. The CareWatch is only available through MedGuard Alert. Call us right now. We have monitoring programs starting as low as $1 a day. The call is free, activation is free, shipping is free, and no contract is required. Remember, with Medicaid, you may qualify to get your CareWatch for free. Don't wait. Call us to get your CareWatch right now. Operators are standing by.
The Kennedy clan officially endorses Biden in a show of force against one of their own, RFK Jr. The Kennedy family, going against the credo that has long since been in place since Joe and Rose Kennedy, that family always comes first, no matter what the outside is. Family, the Kennedy clan sticks together and supports each other. I mean, let's look back at Ted Kennedy's auto accident that killed the young lady, and other continuing, Kennedy foibles. The Kennedy family demonstrated a united front in endorsing President Biden on Thursday at a campaign event in Philadelphia, which underscores the continuing concerns or the growing concerns among Democrats about the potential threat posed by Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the third-party challenger, independent challenger, with a significant number of voters expressing dissatisfaction with both Biden and Trump. Biden still has incredibly low approval ratings, so as does Trump. Trump's is higher, amazingly, over Biden. RFK has been looked at as a very freshening, someone who is stating what the people are concerned about. With a significant number of voters really tuning into what Kennedy is saying, Democrats fear that Kennedy's name on the ballot could tilt the election in Trump's favor, despite earlier concerns about a potential No Labels unity ticket, which you remember, No Labels has decided not to run a presidential. Well, they couldn't find anyone, so they're out. Kerry Kennedy, RFK Jr.'s sister, invoked the legacies of their father, former Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy, and their uncles, former President John F. Kennedy and Senator Ted Kennedy, in her remarks endorsing Biden. While more than a dozen members of Robert Kennedy's own brothers, sisters, and family are expected to join her they did join her in expressing support, along with his big brother Joe and little sister, the youngest, Rory. Biden also will be introduced by Joe Kennedy III, a former congressman and current special envoy to Northern Ireland, in a separate event. This event signified an intensified effort by Biden campaign to confront Kennedy's independent bid, with Democrats viewing any potential diversion from a choice between Biden and Trump as a significant threat. The Democratic Party is preparing to challenge Kennedy's attempts to secure ballot access in key swing states and has mobilized communication professionals to counter his candidacy. In fact, they're so concerned that the DNC's own legal firm has tried to scoop Kennedy's campaign attorney, who has been instrumental in making challenges to open the way for Kennedy to be able to get on ballot. So though, Biden's advisors, they're trying to act cool and they're saying, oh, we're not overly concerned about RFK's ability to attract Democratic and independent voters, which, by the way, his biggest appeal has been with independent, young voters, as well as disenfranchised Democrats and some Republicans. They worry about his impact on the margins in crucial swing states. I have to tell you, I do. I'm not endorsing anyone, but I just love the fact that with RFK, there is a new voice in play. The electoral math underscores these concerns, with past presidential victories by Bush in 2000 and Trump in 2016 partly attributed to third-party candidates attracting disaffected voters. In fact, it was the Green Party candidate that is blamed for Hillary Clinton's failure to win the 2016 presidential election. Never mind the fact that she was very unpopular among many people or disliked. She did not have the charm and charisma of her husband, Bill. So, while Biden advisors are dealing with getting him out on the campaign, especially taking advantage of the fact that Trump is stuck in court, as is any defendant, let me emphasize that. Anyone who is a criminal defendant and is going to be tried taking to court their criminal case, they are required to be in court every day. Yes, Trump, boo-hoo, please stop. The victimization is a little bit much. Kennedy, though, stepping it up, showing what a class act he is. He stated that he applauded his siblings for being politically active as a show of the continuing legacy of the Kennedy family, that they go forward. He applauded them for being there. And he even said that even though we may disagree in opinion on our politics, we are still bound by love. And he shows and expresses his love for his family, for his fellow siblings. And said that even though they don't support me, even though we may have differing opinions as to how our country should be led, he loved them and encouraged their political activization, and actually was proud of his sister for being the front on the speech. See, we could take the whole nation could take a lesson from Bobby Kennedy, because it is okay to have differing opinions. It is okay to support, even in the same family, support different candidates. But what Bobby is expressing and showing and exemplifying in such noble way is that despite the differences of opinion, despite the difference in political ideations, we're family. We are friends, we are neighbors, we are a community, we are one country, and we should act like that. See, Kennedy expresses and shows through his words, through his actions, true unification. It's not just words that, like Biden says, he's the unifier. He ran on that in 2020. I'm going to tell you right now, he has not shown any unification whatsoever. All he does is extol half of the voters that are Trump supporters or voted for Trump. He vilifies Trump supporters. He vilifies MAGA. That is not a unifier. Let's not forget, Biden was saying that at one point because he couldn't get you to force that jab, which is one of the complaints about Kennedy, because Kennedy actually questioned the COVID vaccine. But if you recall, Biden, the great unifier that he's supposed to be, that was a pandemic of the unvaccinated, and continued to throw barbs at people, anyone who went against what the DNC or the Biden administration wants. The Biden administration continues to, push aside other people's concerns because he has a set way of working. So if you're going to unify the country, Joe, then unify it. But you got to realize that you represent everybody, not just the extreme polarizing sect that you have been falling in step with. And though Kennedy's rhetoric, and I wouldn't say campaign rhetoric, may echo some of Trump's positions on issues like border security. Hello, biggest issue right now facing all Americans, border security, or the prosecution of the January 6th rioters, has raised eyebrows among Republicans who are also wary of his potential crossover appeal. However, many Kennedy family members have been critical of Bobby's candidacy, aligning themselves with Biden, seeking to channel that criticism into momentum for president's reelection. Because let's face it, now Biden will be appealing to the boomers and the silent generation that remember fondly the era of Camelot and the Kennedy mystique and lore in politics. Now, here is a win for Bobby. Shortly after his family's very public and media endorsement, Robert Kennedy Jr. secured a spot on the ballot in Michigan, one of the very same swing states that Biden's campaign and the DNC are fretting over Bobby's campaign. The Natural Law Party, which has ballot access in Michigan, nominated Robert Kennedy Jr. and his running mate, Nicole Shanahan, for president and vice president. As Kennedy is still battling to get on all 50 state ballots for November, one thing is certain: the DNC and Biden camp are more than just concerned. They have attempted and continue to throw blocks in Kennedy's getting on the ballots, as well as, like I stated earlier, trying to scoop his main attorney. This also exclaims that if Biden advisors aren't concerned, as they so claim, then why continue to deny Mr. Kennedy his request, actually his pleas for Secret Service protection, especially after he's already received multiple death threats and people personifying security, which they were not. That is a mark on Biden and his administration, because it is President Biden that is capable of allowing for Secret Service protection. In his county, Mr. Kennedy's sister proclaimed that Biden was a unifier. Then put your money where your mouth is. I am begging you, Mr. Biden, because one thing is for sure: you continue to insult, to demonize, or categorize, or even diminish those that may have voted for Trump in 2020. You stated specifically over and over again that MAGA were domestic terrorists or a complete nut job. You continue to push an agenda that is so extreme that the vast majority, even of Democrats, are saying, stop it, Joe. We need to come back to normal. See, Joe likes to say he's a moderate, but what has been the truth is that his administration has anything but moderation, but has been so far in the camp of the fringe and polarization. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to just follow up on what has been happening in Israel with the Iranian attack. I am Alina Gonzalez, and I'll see you right back.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Are you nearly maxed out on your credit cards? It doesn't matter if you're using your credit cards for fun or to survive. At the end of the month, your statements come in, and you can either pay them or you can't. If you can't, late fees and interest rates get tacked on. And now you're struggling just to make the minimum payment due. Do you feel trapped? Am I talking to you? Good, because I personally researched some companies that can help you. They may be able to reduce your credit card balances by 50% and stop the late fees. If you qualify, please call our special debt hotline number right now for a complimentary free 5-minute consultation. Deal with your credit card problem now before it gets much worse and put more money back in your pocket. Trust me, I've been there too. Call right now.
Call 855-993-2096 right now. That's 855-993-2096.
Do you have a car sitting around you want to get rid of? Well, here's a great idea. Donate your car now to help local veterans in your area. Yes, just make one fast call to the Veteran Car Donation Program. Within a few days, we'll come and remove your car for free. You can donate any car in any condition. We'll use our vast network to sell it. The proceeds raised go to help local veterans and their families. And you get a tax deduction. And all you need to do is make this free call. Clean your yard up, get rid of an old car, and help the vets. We make it easy. Make this free call now. Book your fast and easy pickup. Call the Veteran Car Donation Program now.
Ronald Reagan just saved Israel from Iran's attack. How, you may ask? President Ronald Reagan's Strategic Defensive Initiative, or SDI, proposed in 1983, laid the groundwork for missile defense systems that protected Israel from Iran's recent missile barrage. It was an onslaught. Despite initial skepticism, Reagan's vision led to the development of technology that enabled Israel to deploy effective missile defense systems such as the Iron Dome, David Sling, and Arrow 2 and Arrow 3. These systems successfully intercepted over 300 drones and missiles launched by Iran and its proxies at Israeli cities. Reagan's SDI initiative faced criticisms from Democrats and the defense establishment, including figures like Senator Ted Kennedy and Senator Joe Biden, who labeled it as reckless. Joe is always a pacifist. I mean, if he can avoid a confrontation, that's the way he goes. And his reputation of the 45 plus years he's been in Congress for international political knowledge and ability has always been very low. However, last laugh by Ronnie, the effectiveness of the missile defense in protecting Israel highlights the prescience of Reagan's vision and its significance in contemporary defense strategies. The recent missile defense success underscores the importance of continued investment in our missile defense technology. Despite Reagan's foresight, there are ongoing debates over defense budget allocations and investments in the defense industrial base. Both Republicans and Democrats have raised concerns about underinvestment in missile defense by this current Biden administration, particularly in light of emerging threats from state-sponsored missile attacks and the fact that we're looking at North Korea having long-range missiles, Russia claiming that they are have long-range missiles, and in fact that they're going to be launching some from space that reaches to the United States. Donald Trump, during his presidency, revived and emphasized the importance of missile defense programs, citing Reagan's legacy. While President Biden deserves credit for supporting Israel in repelling Iran's missile attack, and I do give him credit for that, because even though he has weakened his stance and he is so flip-floppy when it comes to Israel, and all for the point of alluring the vote of extreme Middle Eastern voters of Michigan, a very small sect, by the way, very small sect. So putting down Israel every chance you get, Joe, does not bide well with vast majority of us. Even especially for those of us that have a extreme affinity to Jewish and Israeli families. There remains a need to acknowledge the endurance relevance of Reagan's missile defense vision in addressing contemporary security challenges. And speaking of at least a very good defensive coalition, miscalculation led to the escalation and clash between Israel and Iran. Israeli officials carried out a strike on high-level Iranian targets in Syria without considering it a provocation, failing to give the U.S. advance notice until moments before the operation. This lack of communication caught Washington off guard, highlighting a miscalculation on Israel's part. But it also may be highlighting even more so the issue that you do not have 100% support by the U.S., at least when it comes to Biden and his current campaign rhetoric. The airstrike of April the 1st, killing several senior Iranian commanders at Iran's embassy complex in Syria. This is what led to Iran having to save face and have retribution. Israeli officials didn't anticipate as strong of a reaction from Iran, but their assessment was flawed. Iran responded with a significant retaliatory attack on April the 13th, launching over 300 drones and ballistic missiles at Israel, the first direct attack from Iran, the country of Iran, the territory, causing minimal damage, thankfully, but thankfully, again, going back to Ronald Reagan, but signaling a larger scale response than expected. The Israeli War Cabinet approved the operation about a week ago before the strike, believing Iran would launch no more than 10 surface-to-surface missiles, codenamed Late Foliage. However, as tensions escalated, Israel realized that Iran had planned a much larger attack, estimating 60 to 70 surface-to-surface missiles, a figure that still severely underestimated the actual scale of Iran's response. The lack of anticipation for Iran's reaction underscores a significant intelligence failure on Israel's part, yet another significant intelligence failure, because October 7th was a huge failure. And despite Israelis' military and intelligence services increasing their estimate of Iran's potential retaliation, they still continue to fail to accurately predict the extent of Iran's response. This growing clash between Israel and Iran highlights the complexities of a regional dynamics and the potential for escalation. And what is more concerning is that even though U.S. is putting pressure, as well as Germany, France, and other allies of the nations of seven are putting pressure of Israel not to retaliate, Netanyahu has been stating that they intend to retaliate. They will have a response. What kind of response and when is still to be seen. So the tensions continue to increase between Israel and Iran. And let's remember that the attacks by Hezbollah, the increasing attacks and missiles by Hezbollah on the north and Hamas, those are each Israeli-backed and funded forces. They are proxy Iranian forces. Iran provides them the weapons. Iran is providing the methodology and the money to continue those attacks. And even though Hezbollah and Hamas didn't join in when Iran did the 300 drones and ballistic missile attack, the day after, they were starting hundreds of missiles coming from Hezbollah, and rockets are being cast from Hamas, from the Gaza Strip. So while the international calls for restraint have been issued, Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu asserts that Israel will make its own decisions. The Israelis' response is anticipated to be influenced by various factors, including public sentiment, alliance considerations, and internal dynamics within the Israeli government. Despite the pressures to refrain from further escalation, Israel's war cabinet appears divided on the appropriate course of action, with differing views on the level of retaliation against Iran. Defense Minister Gallant and former Defense Minister Benny Gantz advocate for a measured response, while other members, such as National Security Minister Ben-Gvir, push for more aggressive action. Public opinion in Israel favors prioritizing alliances over aggressive retaliation. Again, fears of this is escalating to a broader regional war. Though the public remains supportive of the Israel government actions in the Gaza conflict, there is still growing skepticism toward both military and political leadership. So some have questioned, is Netanyahu purposely trying to keep stirring the pot of Israel because it basically saves his political, ability to stay in power and such? But the other bigger question is this: why aren't more countries coming out against against Iran, excuse me? I am in full support of Israel. Let me make that certain. Iran continues to fund terrorist organizations that are wreaking havoc on innocent people and lives. Iran backed that Hamas attack that killed babies, raping of women, and now with 130 hostages, we don't even know and anticipate that less than 40 are alive to this day, to include American hostages. The United States, through the Biden administration, have now sanctioned, once again, Iran, even though, on the other hand, letting them still sell oil and stuff, sanction Iran's militarized industries and drone industries, and Germany and France and the like are also going to be issuing sanctions. The one thing that has occurred, potentially assisting Israel in their in the political landscape of how it's being viewed, is with that severity of attack by Iran, which again, they were like, okay, we're done, we saved face, we had our revenge, is that it pulled away from the constant criticism, flip-flopping of their war in Gaza against Hamas, against a terrorist ruling, governing class, Hamas. And it actually put some more support under Israel because Israel was attacked. And the only reason why Israel isn't a rumble, isn't having deadly, death all around, because let's face it, the Israeli people are always under constant attack. These rockets don't stop. There may be a few here. I mean, we're having, from Lebanon, from Gaza, the West Bank. But one thing is for certain: while we're still trying to get aid to those poor people and families of Gaza, those residents, and trying to avoid a complete meltdown and starvation of the two, which the humanitarian crisis continues to build. And Israel has been allowing more and more trucks in. We have to secure and support our ally. We have to ensure that the one main faction, Israel, is still standing, because that is a democratic country, and we are allied with them. I am Alina Gonzalez-Stockery. I want to thank you for tuning in for another episode of Purple Politics. I want to wish everyone a wonderful weekend. Enjoy the breaking of spring, and I will see you here again next week. I am Alina Gonzalez-Stockery, saying goodbye.
This has been a Now Media Networks feature presentation. All rights reserved.
Do you have a car sitting around you want to get rid of? Well, here's a great idea. Donate your car now to help local veterans in your area. Yes, just make one fast call to the Veteran Car Donation Program. Within a few days, we'll come and remove your car for free. You can donate any car in any condition. We'll use our vast network to sell it. The proceeds raised go to help local veterans and their families. And you get a tax deduction. And all you need to do is make this free call. Clean your yard up, get rid of an old car, and help the vets. We make it easy. Make this free call now. Book your fast and easy pickup. Call the Veteran Car Donation Program now.